Welcome to the Master Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Julie Kelly. I believe in living your most inspired and fulfilled life by knowing exactly who you are, knowing what's important to you, and making no apologies for it. This show is a weekly dose of inspired motivation, personal development, and success strategies designed to create the career, relationships, and lifestyle of your dreams. Imagine waking up every day to your dream life. Well, imagine no more, as each podcast episode is designed to help you live your most authentic life with ease and proven principles that actually get results. I'm the founder of the Master Your Life online course, international motivational speaker, and I'll be sharing real, relevant, tactical advice in this unfiltered transformational podcast. Things are about to get fabulous. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Master Your Life podcast. I hope that life is treating you well and that you and your families are safe and healthy and doing as best as you can during this crazy time. And I really hope that this podcast has helped you get through this challenging period of our lives, whether it's an idea, a strategy, just a change of perspective that you've been able to gain by listening to these episodes. So I would really love to hear from you. If there has been a particular episode that really helped you, or is it something that you implemented, please let me know what that was and what the outcome was, because everything I do on the podcast is all about helping you live your best life, no matter what the circumstances are. And I truly believe that there is massive opportunity even in 2020, even in these unprecedented times, to really dig deep, work out who you are, what you want for your life, what you want for your children, what you want for your extended family, what you want out of your career and your relationships, and really make it happen. There is massive opportunity right now. It just depends on the lens in which you're looking through life at. So I really do put a lot of effort into these podcast episodes to make sure that they benefit you. And so today, I wanted to talk to you about a really powerful concept, and that is analyzing the story that we tell ourselves. Now, I found out that humans have somewhere between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts every single day. Like, that's just ludicrous. It's a huge number. And a lot of those thoughts are just had subconsciously. And so every day we have this like silent dialogue with ourselves. And a lot of what we think, a lot of what we feel, a lot of what we're telling ourselves and what we believe to be true is stored in our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is extremely powerful. In fact, it's actually more powerful than the conscious mind, because the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what's real and what's not real, or what's fake, or what's imagined. And so everything that you put into your subconscious mind, everything that you feed it, it believes. Right? Because it doesn't know the difference. So that silent dialogue that you're having with yourself, whether it's positive or negative, it's always being stored in your subconscious mind, whether it's true or not. And this is why it's crucial to take control over your thoughts so that only what you want in life manifests, right? Only the things that we really wish for and we want come to fruition. But so often we tend to focus on and obsess on the things that we don't want and the things that we don't like, or the problems that we're facing and our fears and our insecurities. And we spend so much time just obsessing on them and talking to ourselves about a particular challenge or problem or an argument we've had, or a disagreement or a misunderstanding or an injustice that's happened to us. And we like marinate in these negative thoughts and these stories that just go on and on and on in our minds silently by ourselves. And that's why this particular episode is really important to understand and to grasp, because we need to start analyzing the story that we're telling ourselves. And I want you to really start paying attention to the story that you're telling yourself when you're faced with a challenging or difficult situation. Okay? And it usually happens when we're in these difficult or challenging situations because our minds tend to wander off and go crazy telling us all these stories that may not even be true. And so let's take an example. Let's take a really common example that happens in so many intimate relationships. And that is the lack of intimacy with a spouse or a life partner. And so if you've been with somebody for a long time, maybe that spark that you had when you were first dating many, many moons ago, maybe that's starting to fizzle out and the intimacy just isn't there. And I know in 2020, with the challenges that we've all had with adapting to this new lifestyle, has really caused a lot of tension and a lot of arguments and just a lot of ickiness that really wasn't there between couples prior to this pandemic. And not only that, I think a lot of women in general have experienced moments in their relationships where they question their appearance and how attractive or how sexy they are to their partners, especially when intimacy tends to decrease. And it's really important to know that decreasing intimacy in any relationship is normal. You know who you were and what you did when you were in your teens is not who you are and what you do when you're in your 40s, for instance, right? So the same thing applies to intimacy. It ebbs and flows. There are periods of times in our lives where it's, there's lots of romance and attraction and intimacy, and then there are other times in our lives where that just doesn't take precedence. It's not a priority because there's other things going on in our lives. And that's okay. But what we need to be careful of is the story that we start telling ourselves about that situation, about that lack of intimacy. And a lot of the time, this is what the story sounds like. Oh, he's just no longer attracted to me. Maybe he's having an affair. Maybe he no longer finds me sexy or attractive. I'm getting too old. I'm getting too fat. I'm putting on weight. He wants a divorce. And it goes on and on and on and on. And the things that we tell ourselves can be really nasty and cruel and unkind to ourselves. And the way we talk to ourselves is really demeaning. But the problem is that it starts to spiral off. And it's really, really hard to stop these thoughts when we get into this cycle, because they're like a freight train going at 100 miles an hour. It's like good luck in trying to stop that, right? So to end this vicious cycle of worry and fear and negative thoughts and doubts, to end that cycle, I invite you to question the story you're telling yourself. And so it begins by being aware that you're actually telling yourself that story, right? So whenever you catch yourself silently going on the freight train, going at 100 miles an hour, it's really important to stop and actually acknowledge that you're on the freight train, right? That you're going at 100 miles an hour, your thoughts are going berserk, and they may not even be true. And so I really want you to question the story you're telling yourself, and whenever possible, talk to the person with whom you're struggling with. So, for instance, let's take the same example, right? Let's say there's a husband and wife and the intimacy in their relationship is decreasing, and you're on the freight train thinking that he's having an affair, he wants a divorce, he no longer finds you sexy or attractive, and it's going downwards real quick, right? We're going south real fast. Okay. So, how do we take control of the freight train? So I literally want you to be able to have a conversation with your husband, for instance, and acknowledge that this is happening. So what you need to do is, first of all, get his undivided attention. So you could start by saying, something like, I need to talk to you about something that's really important to me, and I would really like it if you could give me 10 minutes of your undivided attention. So no cell phones, no emails, no nothing, just I need you to listen to me for a minute. And then tell him the story. Tell him the story that you're telling yourself. But in that storytelling process, after you explain the situation, right? Because never, 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 never assume that anybody thinks the same thing that you're thinking. Never assume that they're feeling the same way that you're feeling, okay? So it's really important that you make it about yourself, right? I'm feeling this. I'm thinking this. And the story I'm telling myself about this situation is that you don't find me attractive, that maybe you want a divorce, that maybe you want out of this relationship, right? So you literally have to say, when you're having the conversation with that person, the story I'm telling myself is this, and you tell your version and then you stop talking. And then you let the other person say what they've got to say. But it's really important, like I said, that you make it about yourself and that you use that term. The story I'm telling myself is this, okay? Now, the more uncomfortable, awkward, difficult conversations you can have in life, the more quality of relationships you're going to have. The quality of your life, the quality of your relationships is going to increase exponentially with the number of uncomfortable, awkward, difficult conversations that you have. And I know that's really seems unfair, but that's the truth of the matter. So the more that you can start engaging with other people and learning how to have these conversations, learning how to express your thoughts, your feelings, your fears, your insecurities, and make them about you and not accuse anybody or project anything onto anybody, the better your relationships are going to be and the better your communication's going to be, which in of itself is going to exponentially increase the quality of your relationships and the quality of your life. And that's what the Master Your Life podcast is all about, right? I'm giving you these techniques, these ideas, these suggestions, these principles, these concepts, so that you can actually implement them in your life when they show up, so that you can elevate your life every single day, like just by taking baby steps every single day. So the more you can start to implement these ideas and strategies that I share on the podcast, and they're all different, right? They're all about different things, the better your life is going to be. Now, for those of you who are sitting there thinking, Julie, you are out of your mind. I absolutely cannot have this conversation with my husband or my friends or my boss or my parents, my children. It's just never going to happen. I can't do it. I'm not there yet. I got you. Okay, don't worry. I got you. So for those of you who feel like this is too big a leap and you need to build up to it, I invite you then to journal about the story that you're telling yourself. And I literally mean pen to pad, pen to paper, journaling. Because you need to get these thoughts, these fears, these worries, these concerns, these insecurities, these challenges, these difficulties out on paper. There is something cathartic about pen to paper. There's something therapeutic about doing that and being in that process where your thoughts are coming like out of your brain, into your arm, down into your hand, into the pen, onto that piece of paper. And so I want you to journal and write about what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and why you feel this way. And do it without judgment. Don't try and make it perfect. Don't try and retell the story or reshape the story. Let it be as raw and authentic as possible, okay? Nobody's going to see this. This is just about you doing it for yourself. So write it out. Make it ugly. Like write everything that you feel. Don't edit yourself. If you feel like swearing or cussing or blaming people or whatever it may be, write it in your journal. And then I want you, once you've written it all out, to question the story you're telling yourself by asking questions like these. Do I have any real evidence to back up each of my thoughts and my feelings? Now, the word here is evidence. Do I have evidence? Did something happen? Is it real? If somebody else was to see it, would they agree with me? Or am I making a story up about whatever happened, whatever the situation is, whatever the difficulty is, whatever the confrontation was? Okay. The next question you could ask yourself too is, what's my ideal outcome with this problem, this challenge, and what efforts have I made towards resolving them? And really question yourself, right? Have you done anything to really resolve the question that is posed in your mind that's making you jump on that freight train that's going 100 miles an hour? Or are you just ruminating and marinating in negative thoughts and toxic ideas and fears and insecurities and anxieties for nothing? Because we do that. We're really good at doing that, us human beings. We love to tell ourselves these horrible stories that spin us out of control, and we don't often do anything about it. So, what's your ideal outcome, and what efforts have you made towards resolving them? And if you haven't, think about what you can do to resolve this current challenge that's got you on the freight train. And lastly, the question you can have or ask yourself, or even a challenge that you could pose to yourself, is when and how can I get clarity by having a conversation with the person that I'm having a struggle with? So you may not be ready now, but maybe you're going to challenge yourself to really try and have this difficult conversation in a week's time. Maybe it's in a day. Maybe it's tomorrow. But really, the only way to progress and to get over these challenges, especially when they involve other people, is to have that conversation, that awkward, uncomfortable, difficult conversation where you express how you feel, you express your thoughts, you express the story that you're telling yourself, and let them rebut. Let them come back with their version. Let them come back with their thoughts, their feelings, their preconceived notions, their understanding of a situation. Okay? It's really important that we start having these conversations with our friends, our families, our colleagues, our peers, because so much goes unresolved. And to live your best life, to really master your life, is to live life at its maximum without fear, without judgment, and without regret. And regret is probably one of the worst things we could ever have, because we hold on to that, and regret without any action is permanent. It's permanent. And I never want you to look in the mirror and have regret about anything that's going on in your life. And it's difficult. Believe me, I get it. It's difficult. And I want to share with you, just to wrap up this podcast episode, that last night it was my mother's 70th birthday. And my mother and I have had a very, very tumultuous relationship for my entire life. And especially for the last 2 years. And in fact, we've basically not spoken to one another for the last 2 years. And there's never really been any real reason or anything that happened that either one of us has wanted to discuss. But yesterday, I took it upon myself to have that difficult, awkward conversation that I didn't even know if it was going to happen. And I called her for the first time in 2 years. And I was terrified. I have to tell you, I had a pit in my stomach for days leading up to yesterday. And I didn't know if she was going to answer. I didn't know how she was going to respond if she did in fact answer. And the story I was telling myself, I was on the freight train, but I talked myself off the ledge. And I really put myself in a place of peace and gratitude. And I took the high road and I called her. And she answered. And it was an amazing conversation. And instantly, all my fears and worries and insecurities and concerns disappeared. And we had an amazing conversation, and I spoke to other family members that happened to be at her house for her birthday. And it was like old times. And, looking back, it's like, why did we allow 2 years to go by without picking up the phone? And it's because of the story that we were telling ourselves. And I don't know what her process is, if she even has one. But that's not my concern. My concern is me and working on myself and working on the story that I'm telling myself and working through it and having the courage to break through that story, to disarm that story and to rewrite the story so that it's bigger and better and happier and more peaceful than it's ever been. And so, my friends, I share this with you today because this is powerful stuff. This stuff changes your life. It changes the life of the people that you love and care for. And so I invite you to have the courage to rewrite your story, to question your story, to have those difficult conversations, to push through your fears and do it. Because no matter what happens, you're going to be better off. You're going to be informed. Things are going to happen that are going to help you decide how you want to live the rest of your life, how you want to proceed with that person. Do you want to have a relationship with them or not? Is it going to be different? Yeah, maybe, but that's okay because we're dynamic beings that grow and evolve and change. And especially right now, this difficult year that we've been in, all of us, it's made us rethink our life's purpose, our relationships, our careers, what we want to do, where we want to live, who we want in our lives. And so I invite you to question the story you're telling yourself and then take action on connecting with that person and having that difficult conversation, whether you like it or not. And yes, it may take you longer than me, or maybe it's going to take you shorter than it took me. But however long it takes you, do it. Have the courage to push through and do it. So my lovelies, I'm going to leave you with that today. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate and review the podcast wherever you're tuning in from today. It's available on many different platforms where you listen in to podcasts. It's available on Amazon Music. You can subscribe over there. And I would love for you to connect with me on social media where we can have an actual dialogue. I hang out on Instagram. My handle is Julie C. Kelly. That's JulieCkelly. And over at Facebook at facebook.com/I'm Julie C. Kelly. And you can always email me at julie@julieCkelly.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this podcast episode. And I wish you so much love, so much strength, so much courage. And I know you can do this because if I can do it, you can do it too. Till next time, stay well, stay healthy, and be courageous every day.